They know what they signed up for: the commitment, the practices, the teammates, the wins, the glory, and especially that sense of pride that comes when they say, "I'm an athlete." But what about what they didn't sign up for? The anxiety, the stress, the lack of sleep, the depression, and most of the time, nowhere to turn for help. Student athletes face a disproportionate amount of stressors compared to the average 18 to 22-year-old student, and are less likely to seek help.
It's a toxic relationship. The thing these athletes love the most is hurting them. For most, it's a take-only relationship and gives the athlete little in return. As these stressors continuously compound onto the athlete, it takes its toll, to the point where they see their academic career slip, they walk away from the sport, or in some cases, they choose the nuclear option, ending their own life.
Hey everyone, big news, exciting stuff going on. I'm hyped. If you've been
22-year-old Katie Meyer often documented her days and routines as a college athlete on TikTok. But after a long series of events that was too much for her to bear, Katie took her own life. A month later, 21-year-old University of Wisconsin track star Sarah Scholes also took her own life. In a statement, her parents said the demands of balancing sports, academics, and everyday life left her overwhelmed in a desperate time. A month after Sarah, James Madison softball star Lauren Bennett also took her own life. In the span of all these athletes gone in just a 60-day period, is the price to play too high? Professional athletes like Naomi Osaka, Simone Biles, DeMar Rosen, Kevin Love have all spoken up in recent years to address the issue of mental health in sports. But it hasn't been enough, especially to college athletes. We talked to some about this increasing problem. In 2016, a Northwestern University study found that 95% of male and 85% of female college athletes report higher stress compared to 52% of non-college athletes.
Like, you have to balance like a lot, I feel like, compared to like a normal person, like, because you have practice and then you have to do like, put in extra work if you want to, like, get better. On top of that, you have school, and it's just like putting it all together and like trying to like do your absolute best at like every single aspect can get stressful.
Compared to the normal person, what Casey means is there is a unique set of stressors student athletes face during their academic careers. Research shows these stressors range from balancing academic demands with sports, interpersonal issues with teammates and coaches, and increased practice times during the season, even more than what is required.
So I feel like my life revolves around like how I'm doing at practice and like waking up for lift and all this. Like if I will forego like an assignment for more sleep, then okay, at least that means I'll feel rested for lift tomorrow. Like that's the worst feeling.
This excessive dedication and stress can cause decreased sleep and elevated anxiety.
A lot gets bottled up in there, and then maybe it's not till later on that it really starts to manifest as stress or anxiety or depression or any number of symptoms.
Dr. Carrie Hastings is the clinical sports psychologist for the Los Angeles Rams. She is only one of few sports psychologists hired by professional sports teams. As a former track star who suffered a career-ending injury, she now has her own facility to help athletes who may be struggling.
Everything is linked. If you are anxious about something non-sport related, it's still going to impact your performance and ability to focus at practice and concentrate and put forth your best effort. And if you're stressed, vice versa, if you're stressed about something within sports, it's going to impact your focus and, functioning out in the world and the rest of your life, whether it's academics or socially or, just interpersonal relationships.
Published on the NCAA's website is Mental Health Best Practices. These are guides and resources accessible to athletic departments and athletes. But we try to find out exactly how many college athletic departments have trained mental health or clinical sports psychologists on their payroll, and we did not receive an answer. University of La Verne softball coach Dennis Bloss believes even coaches have as little resources as their athletes. Do you think athletic departments should invest their time adding clinical sports psychologists onto their payroll?
God, yeah, they should have a full-time sports psychologist, full-time. I definitely agree with that, especially nowadays. If you're not doing, and like I said, they always talk about budget and money and this and that, you got to suck it up, man, and hire a full-time couple psychologists for all these athletes.
Mental health is not talked about enough openly on college campuses, but especially amongst athletes. In 2014, the NCAA reported athletes are less likely to seek help than other students. Senior La Verne basketball player Sebastian Williams has seen his teammates experience this firsthand.
But there's people that have those internal problems, don't talk to anybody on faculty, don't talk to a trainer, don't talk to a coach, don't talk to anybody of a certain power within the organization, and they just crack and leave, So that happens a lot.
And why don't they talk to these people?
Because they feel alone.
I think it goes back to that showing emotion is a sign of weakness, old school mentality. And I think that people who are raised that way, whether it's by family or coaches, or they're around teammates who think like that, it kind of gets ingrained in their system, like, I can't feel, or if I do, then I'm weak.
Coach Bloss, like so many other coaches, explained how he had to change his coaching style and take a new approach.
Change as a coach. You got to change your ways once in a while. And, I used to be a really hard-nosed coach. I really was. You can't be that no more, man. You got to be open to these kids and listen to them. And you got to be like a dad to them. I think people are starting to see that more.
With little resources, it is hard for an athlete to talk about their problems, almost as hard as it is to walk away from the sport that grew to become part of their identity. But can this problem receive more help? According to Dr. Hastings, simple approaches such as open-door policies and better communication can alleviate stress on the athlete.
It might just be staying after practice for 15 minutes, showing up 15 minutes early, because those are the times when an athlete may feel comfortable approaching a coach about something else going on.
University of La Verne head basketball coach Richard Reed is one of few coaches who employs these kinds of strategies onto his players.
Some days we come in a practice and I'll see that we're not physically there because it's something mental or emotional, and I'll stop and we'll have kind of a powwow and we'll talk about that. You just have to do alternate training. One of the things I like to do is I'll say, all right, let's go play wiffle ball. Something fun to kind of get them back in the mindset of this is a game, right? Basketball is a game. It's meant to.
What a coach is for.
So you think what's missing the most is humanizing these players and taking it's no cookie cutter, one size fits all.
No.
Everybody needs to be.
We're all people. We're all people. We're a person first.
I think the only way that is going to change is if more people are aware of what really goes on in a student athlete's life, or even in their mind and stuff like that.
Finally, we asked, what is their message to athletes who may be struggling?
Just never mind sports in life. Like, if you're going through something and it's hard to deal with, like, you can get through it alone, but it's not the healthy way. Like, yeah, you need to turn to people who you can trust and who care about you.
It's so hard, but you just got to force yourself to take that first step, no matter who you feel comfortable with, because, yeah, that will eat you alive.
When it comes to mental issues, the Latinx community ranks among the highest. Yet they are among the lowest groups when it comes to seeking help for their problems. Much of it has to do with their cultural beliefs.
From the age that they start moving around, boys are strong and you don't cry.
Latino males, from the jump, our emotional range is beat out of us, sometimes literally, sometimes emotionally, metaphorically.
It's a cycle that comes from generations and generations building a unhealthy environment for men, until it becomes impossible for them to open up about their feelings.
I need to act hard. I need to be brave. I need to not show emotions and be tough.
The results can be broken relationships, drug and alcohol abuse, suicidal thoughts. For these men, a better life means breaking the cycle. For 34-year-old Jose Salce, a rough childhood marked his life. Jose was 1-year-old when his parents and 4 sisters migrated from Mexico to Southern California. Then, the abuse started.
All I remember was his hand, was feeling the pain, the physical pain. It was more of that physical rather than verbal. My dad placed a lot of his anger and frustration, he let it out on me.
The abuse went on for years. When Jose's teachers noticed that he was emotionally withdrawn, they sent him to therapy. But his mother didn't think therapy was necessary.
So my mom would actually tell me on the drives there, just to give you an idea of her perception of mental health and where she was at, she would tell me, mijo, ya no te pongas negro. Tienes que hablar y sonreír para que ya no te tenga que traer.
The pain from the abuse that Jose suffered never went away. In fact, it only ruined his relationship with his father.
We lived in the same home, but I had nothing to talk to him about. How could I if I was still experiencing the pain that I had within myself for the harm that he caused?
Jose stopped therapy in middle school and looked for other ways to cope with his pain.
It was me and my friends going to parties, going to clubs, seeking external validation through women, seeking validation through my friends, but never that validation from myself.
We really haven't been taught to identify those emotions, name them, much less express them. And so a lot of the work that I do will be focused more on like what I call just like emotional literacy.
Dr. Jaime Salcedo, a clinician who serves college students of Cal Poly Pomona, has seen how strong a role stigma associated with expressing emotion plays in Hispanic culture.
The things that we don't express, the emotions we don't express, they fester in there. And when they fester, that becomes the toxicity that you see in a lot of masculinity, a lot of male expression of masculinity, both like verbally, mentally, emotionally, behaviorally. And so that's always the challenge.
Mental health is rarely talked about in the Latino community. Lizeth Ma, a clinician in San Diego who works with the Latinx community, says it is an attitude that passed down through generations.
So if you have your dad, that he's machista, que no enseña emociones, that he's not showing any emotions, he's not basically showing any sign of defeat or weakness, the probability of any children, male or female, telling you that they're having a hard time or that they're having some sort of negative emotion or that they can't handle something is slim to none.
Efren Reyes had a tough time dealing with his emotions from a very early age. Having parents who were always working left him alone and without a guide.
I think not having a emotionally present father there didn't help for me to be able to share my emotions because I didn't see an example of a man being able to tap into his emotions and express himself.
When Efren later married, that inability to express himself emotionally created huge problems for his relationship.
I would keep those problems to myself. I would also cope with different things such as drugs, alcohol, pornography, things like that, that at the time I didn't know that they were coping mechanisms. It was just a way to relieve that stress, relieve those emotions that were unprocessed.
Efren started to notice the impact on his life after his marriage was almost ruined.
So she actually walked out of our apartment for that time, for a couple weeks, and in that time I had time to reflect, which I had never done before. When my second baby was born, I was having a lot of self-doubt, a lot of anxiety of what type of father I was gonna be.
For men like Jose and Efren, who came from very culturally strong Latino families and fathers who didn't show emotion, opening up about mental issues would be a journey that would take a lot of work.
To get a male to come to treatment by their own will, by themselves, and like an adult Hispanic male, it's really hard.
When they do seek help, Ma says it's usually for secondary reasons.
So they're coming in because of marriage issues, or they're having problems with the children and the parents are not communicating, like communication issues with the family. And then when you kind of strip down and you peel like little onions, you peel those layers and then you realize, okay, well, it's not just that. There's like a core there, right, that we need to address.
When it comes to mental health, only 34% of the Latino community will seek treatment compared to the national average of 45%. This inequality puts Latino men more at risk for severe mental health issues if not treated. Christian Zendejas is one of those men who didn't seek help, even after dealing with depression from a cancer diagnosis.
I felt like I looked like a monster. I felt low self-esteem. I didn't want to go walk outside or go to a store. Just would look at myself and I myself would get disgusted.
Christian felt that he couldn't open up to anybody, not even his mother.
Just pray and God will give you the answer you're looking for and things will come in time, and that's just how my mother's mindset is.
So Christian used writing as an outlet.
I would write stuff down like that and keep it to myself because in a sense, I thought of it like, well, I can't really talk to another person like this.
Although Christian is in a better place, cancer-free, he continues to write his feelings in a journal and is open to therapy in the future.
I will probably go search for that help because that's a very dark place to be in. And I remember that, and I don't ever want to be put in a situation where I feel like that again constantly, or have those thoughts or feelings in my mind.
For Latino men, dealing with mental health issues will mean breaking out of the cycle of cultural beliefs that have kept them from expressing emotions and recognizing their problem. Jose learned to validate emotions, found meditation, which he does daily.
That my emotions, my experience was valid, and that it was okay for me to want to seek that help. I didn't know it was out there.
A friend received the help he needed, and in the process learned to communicate with his wife better and become a guide for his family. Fren and Jose started Latino Dad Connections, a group that aims to help men become more emotionally accepting and present.
We're stopping those generational cycles, and we're ensuring that that stops with us, that our children can grow up and have beautiful, beautiful, amazing memories of their childhood.
Andrew Figueroa, aka Figgy Baby, created the group Bloom Homie, in which men can speak freely about their experiences. He is someone who strongly believes that men need a space where they can open up.
I think that as men, we feel so isolated in those emotions. When we're having them, we're like, I'm the only one, there's something wrong with me. But really, we're one of millions, billions of men who have mental health. I mean, we all have mental health. And at the end of the day, if the community serves nothing more than that reminder that we're not in this alone.